If you ever hear the voices of your dead loved ones knocking on your doors in the middle of the night, don't open. Because behind the mask of your mother, your father, or your partner could be Nale Ba, and her black eyes only want one thing: revenge. Night fam, this is the story of Nale Ba, a witch that has haunted the Indian countryside for decades, and the woman who finally showed us the truth behind this terrifying creature. It all began with Ananya Singh, the daughter of a reporter whose death was connected to a small town in southwest India. For months, Ananya had been trying to uncover what happened to her father. He came to this village 20 years ago and then disappeared. The only thing they told her was that Nale Ba took him. A witch that knocks on the doors at night and lures people out by using the voices of their loved ones. The days dragged on, with her investigation going nowhere and with the town stubbornly refusing to give her any answers. Ananya grew angry. This damned place, where people believe in stupid superstition, where they wrote Nale Ba come back tomorrow over their doors for protection, where they believe that a witch had been stalking their town and was behind her father's disappearance. She came here for real, reasonable answers, but all she got was stupid ghost stories. That same night, she sat down on her laptop and began to write. Every single angry thought pouring through words. She mocked the people for being stupid, for their beliefs. She insulted them and accused them of conspiracy, for hiding her father's death. She said that Nale Ba was just an excuse, just a story they made up to make their guilt easier. She looked at her father's pocket watch. Tick, tick, tick. Midnight. There was a knock on her doors.
Ananya, beta, please open up.
No, impossible. The voice at the door was her own father's. Barely believing what she heard, Ananya looked through the peephole, and there he was, in perfect health. As she reached for the doorknob, everything the villagers told her about Nale Ba rushed to her memory. She mimics the voices of the ones we love. She preys on us, tricks us so that she can have her revenge. The village is still cursed. Something inside of her stopped her hand. She stood there, frozen, as her father begged her to open up, as he slammed his fists against the doors. All this time, she thought the legend was nonsense, but a part of her believed it. The same part that stopped her from opening the doors.
Open it, beta, please. Open it. Open the doors.
The voice changed. Open the doors. Open the doors. It was now a throaty screech. The banging fists became clawing nails. Ananya stood back in shock, hearing the wood creak as the thing on the other side scratched. As she ran upstairs, there was this blood-curdling cry, a shriek that made her ears bleed. Dashing up the steps, she could hear claws scraping against the walls, following her from the outside. She turned the corner and came face to face with the witch for the very first time. On the other side of the window, lit up by the huge pale moon, Nale Ba barred her jagged teeth, her white dress fluttering in the wind. With a terrifying scream, she scraped against the windows and then disappeared. Ananya looked up and she was just gone. That night, she tossed and turned in her bed, and every time she closed her eyes, she saw the face of that pale, withered thing. The villagers weren't lying. Nale Ba was real. Nale Ba came for her, and Nale Ba took her father's life. The very next day, Ananya went back to square one. She went through the village's records and archives, looking up every written legend and encounter with Nale Ba. And among those dusty, faded pages, she found the diary of a man named Ravi. A piece of evidence she discarded before, thinking it was just more superstitious rambling. Ravi was a villager when the legend first began, and he told a completely different story. Lakshmi wasn't a witch. She was a normal girl, and they were in love. But Ravi was already promised to another woman. His parents arranged for a marriage, and after he was forced to leave Lakshmi, she cursed his parents, cursed the people that took Ravi away from her, cursed the very village that destroyed her love. When her curse and her anger began to tear the village apart, Ravi had to do something. So he met her one night, confessing his love to her once again and begged her to stop. But Lakshmi wouldn't. She was too far gone. So Ravi did the only thing he could in order to save the village. He drew his knife and killed her. The diary ends with a note that the body is still buried under a banyan tree where they first met. If she was going to find Nale Ba, Ananya knew it was going to be at the place she met her old lover. Nale Ba wasn't a heartless monster. She was a woman driven to madness by love. And so Ananya went to the tree, sat down, and waited. As night descended and the people hid inside their homes, Ananya was greeted by that same familiar voice from the previous night.
What are you doing here, Beta?
She watched as her father appeared from the tree line, tall, finely dressed, with his kind smile, just like she always remembered him. I know you're not him. I know what you did to him.
What are you talking about?
I know what you did to him. So I want to see you. The face you showed me last night. I want to see Lakshmi.
Please go back home. It's not safe here. Go.
Stop it. Stop pretending you're him. You'll never be him. Ananya couldn't look. Even though she knew it wasn't really her father, she couldn't look him in the eye.
Ananya, begging you. Go. Please, you're not supposed to be here.
Yes, I am. Tears flooded her eyes. Ananya held out her father's pocket watch, hand outstretched. She felt each tick. She tried to engrave them in her memory forever. The sound, the feeling, the last actual memento of her father. This watch belonged to my father, who came here seeking the truth. It represents his commitment to uncovering the reality behind myths. I'm offering it to you, Lakshmi, not as a sacrifice, but as a gesture of peace. Let these people go. She felt her heart rip in two as she said those words. But her father came here for a reason. He came here for the truth. If there was a way to honor his legacy, it was to do the right thing. I'm so tired. I'm so lonely. The voice was the same Ananya heard last night. But this time, it was softer. It was weaker. It was vulnerable. All I wanted was love. And I was denied. I was betrayed. I was angry. Ananya finally opened her eyes, and she saw her, Lakshmi, Nale Ba, not a terrible demon lurking in the night, but an old woman whose heart had been ripped out ages ago. Let these people go. Let this curse go and move on. Ananya took a few careful steps and placed the pocket watch in front of the frail woman. You can finally find peace. And then she did what her father did. Every time Ananya was upset, she hugged her tight. She felt as the old woman clutched onto her, as her tears soaked into her shirt, as Nale Ba wept, sobbed, and then whispered, "Thank you." She blinked, and the old woman was gone. The suffocating darkness that clouded all around her was gone. In the distance, the first rays of the sun crept over the hillside. Ananya breathed in, kissed her father's pocket watch, and then hung it over the branches of the tree. She counted the seconds as she left the lone tree behind her. Tick. She thought of her father's smile. Tick. She thought of the little village, finally free from centuries of torment. Tick. For a moment, she swore she could make out the faint shape of her father, smiling from the tree line. She smiled back and disappeared into the hillsides below.